So, who's really going to conquer space by the end of this century? This is a quest humans have been chasing for decades now. But, in recent years, the space race has picked up more than ever before. With billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk investing heavily into the commercial space industry, you can expect humans to not only start travelling to space, but also making money off of it. In this video, we're talking all about how space is quickly becoming an economic boom in itself, where companies are now trying to find growth opportunities. But in the current race to space, who's really winning? Let's find out. Ever since humans have started working on the possibility of conquering space, we've been stuck on episode 1, reaching space. Why? Well, because the truth is that going to space obviously requires billions of dollars to build the technology that it takes to go all the way into the skies. But practically, with the tech industry investing millions of dollars into reusable rockets and mini satellites, the cost required to launch vehicles and people into space is now cheaper than ever before. Now previously, all investments into the space industry were done through governments, but now, private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin have also joined this race to commercialize space. And these innovations in the private sector are primarily what sped up space exploration to this degree. The collaboration between SpaceX and NASA. And of course, the number one player in the game at the moment is Elon Musk's SpaceX. And what's really given SpaceX the edge that it has is the fact that the company has actually partnered up with NASA for its space explorations. In fact, in May 2021, SpaceX became the first ever company to send astronauts from NASA into their International Space Station for the first time in over a decade. So it's safe to say that Elon Musk definitely has his eyes on winning the space race, while collaborating with already established platforms like NASA. With this move, SpaceX has taken over 60% of the global commercial launch market and is currently working on developing spacecrafts that will act as modes of transportation from the Earth to not just the International Space Station, but also to Mars, which has always been Elon Musk's original plan. In the future, as launch costs decrease further, experts believe that SpaceX will start taking more people into space and turn all of SpaceX's extraterrestrial initiatives into a sustainable industry, starting from NASA and eventually expanding to a larger market. SpaceX is also working on its very own broadband internet service consisting of thousands of satellites called Starlink, which is an area that no one else has ever imagined tapping into until now. Imagine receiving internet signals straight from space. How cool would that be? Blue Origin's first human spaceflight. But while SpaceX has definitely dominated the space market for a while now, Jeff Bezos isn't too far behind, with his own space exploration company, Blue Origin. And Bezos is pretty serious about utilizing all the resources he has to gain an insight into how he can make use of the potential business opportunities waiting in space. In fact, the billionaire has admitted that he's willing to sell billions worth of Amazon stock per year in exchange for fueling his space ventures. The vision behind Blue Origin is the same as SpaceX, finding ways to make space travel cheaper and more sustainable through reusable boosters. But what Bezos really wants to do is create thousands of space stations to house humans in the case of any large-scale catastrophes on our own planet. Think of it as real estate, but in space. Ventures like these will allow construction firms to make their way into space to create orbital megastructures like hotels, factories, and eventually even permanent settlements, which means that the real estate and hospitality industry has one of the biggest potentials to thrive when humans finally manage to conquer space. Blue Origin is also working on transportation, and through its suborbital rocket called New Shepard, the company is planning on taking tourists into space and showing them what it's like through large windows. And it seems like the idea might not be as far-fetched as it sounds, because on July 20th, 2021, Bezos himself was a passenger on Blue Origin's very first human flight to space, As far as the future goes, Bezos is already currently working on a lunar lander called Blue Moon, which is expected to be ready by 2024 and will help the company establish a sustained presence on the moon for business purposes. Virgin Galactic, commercializing space travel. But Bezos isn't the only person who has massive plans to turn space transportation into a booming industry, because Virgin Galactic, founded by Richard Branson, is already planning to expand its operations outside the Earth on a commercial level. The company has recently announced its plans to start selling space tickets at a starting price of $450,000. This news comes right after the company completed its first ever flight with a full crew to the edge of space earlier this year in July. And once Virgin has conducted enough test flights, they are all set to become a leading name in space travel. And with the commercialization of space travel, experts believe that these flights will definitely become more affordable with time, which is why tourism and transportation in itself is a huge business opportunity when it comes to space. Not just tourism, but this has also given a boost to the energy sector, where companies are now rushing to create more efficient propellants and fuels to drive the space tourism industry. It's like killing two birds with one very effective stone. These airplane-borne rocket launchers are also expected to allow humans to start space mining at far lower cost. The global mining industry has experienced a loss of $1.6 trillion in 2010 to $714 billion in 2016. But this may change quickly once this emerging space industry changes the way we approach mining. Extracting minerals and ice from asteroids and other celestial bodies might just be the end to the current global water shortage, which is why corporations like NASA are closely working with space companies to turn this idea into reality as quickly as possible. Lockheed Martin versus SpaceX, the race to Mars. Speaking of airplane-borne rocket launchers, Virgin isn't the only company to capitalize on their aircrafts, with Boeing entering the commercial space industry in a partnership with private aerospace giant Lockheed Martin, which, by the way, has an experience of over 100 years of space exploration and is also credited for building the Orion, an exploration vehicle to carry NASA crew to space in the safest way possible. Now, Boeing has partnered up with a name as big as Lockheed Martin to form the United Launch Alliance, or ULA, to build some of the most powerful rockets the world has ever seen. ULA was formed in 2006 and has since successfully delivered more than 100 satellites to orbit, using the Atlas and Delta families of rockets. And as their operations become more affordable, the ULA is in direct competition with SpaceX, because both companies are now rushing to reach and establish their bases on Mars. Considering all of this and the fact that in 2019, 95% of the estimated $366 billion in revenue earned in the space sector was from services produced on the Earth for space travel and exploration, it's safe to say that space is where all tech and businesses giants are headed next. So, while the race to space was between governments right at its inception, now it's a race between billionaires who are willing to invest all they can into seizing all the business opportunities that the space industry holds for them. From mining water on the moon to building homes and resorts on different planets, every major player in the game is inching closer and closer towards building an economy that might go on to rely on the commercial use of space. So, who's winning the race to space? It's still too early to say, but if things keep progressing the way they have, there's no denying that space exploration is limitless, which only goes to show that the ways in which corporations can do business in space also has the potential to go beyond all limits imaginable. That's a wrap for Space Business. Who's winning? If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and of course subscribe to our channel. See you next time with something new. Until then, goodbye.